Hi, my name's Phil and I love talking about politics, and the situation for the EU is now, I suppose, really clear. Although both the withdrawal agreement and the trade and cooperation agreement, otherwise known as the Brexit deal, set up a number of committees for joint UK-EU discussions to take place in order to build a cooperative partnership, it is now abundantly clear that Boris Johnson's government is always going to act in bad faith. So now the EU's attention seems to be turning to the type of action that fits with having such a relationship. So what is it that they may be planning to do? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So although there are a lot of aspects of Brexit that should be coming into sharp focus, the media largely has its attention on the Northern Ireland Protocol, which is fair enough, as this is the aspect of Brexit with the greatest potential for monumental cock-up in the hands of clumsy operators like David Frost and Boris Johnson. Frost and Johnson have decided to push the line that the difficulties are not down to Brexit, of course not, they push Brexit, or their cack-handed negotiations, of course not, because they were in charge of them, and certainly not the fact that they didn't implement the systems that the EU countries seem to have had up and running, because they spent years on them when we didn't. No. It's apparently because the EU are having a moody about us leaving the bloc. They should just get over it and everything would be fine, Frost says. Okay then, so what does that getting over it mean for the EU? Because obviously from their point of view, they know full well what the problems are. It doesn't matter what they manage to convince the British public are the problems. They know what the real problems are. So what they're doing is they're facing the fact that they're having to discuss things with the British government that are constantly going to act in bad faith. Well, I've already talked about the fact that they are not looking like wanting to ratify the trade and cooperation agreement soon, certainly not whilst we're behaving as we are. And I was saying recently on another platform that I'd be quite interested in what some of the major parties in the EU Parliament think about this, because the scenario at the moment is that they have delayed the votes. They were going to be taking place this month. They're not now going to do so, because obviously they can't ratify it whilst the UK government are breaching the earlier withdrawal agreement. I mean, why ratify one treaty with a country that is currently breaching the one you agreed with them just a year earlier? That would make you look stupid. But what if Johnson backs down and reaffirms his commitment to the Northern Ireland Protocol? Do you go ahead and ratify it then? I mean, if you do, and then Johnson breaks the treaty a week later, don't you still look stupid? Because if you say, well, he reaffirmed his commitment to it, people could say, yeah, he did that last year and he still broke it again. Is there now no way for the EU Parliament to ratify the treaty? I don't know, but I'll just have to wait on that one, I think. Obviously, one area where the EU could flex its muscles would be on financial services. Denying further equivalence and removing that already granted would be a major blow to the UK's financial services. This may even single-handedly sink the Conservative spending plans, which depend upon economic gains, which would be unlikely at the best of times, especially with Brexit, but surely can't stand up to a beating to our most important sector of the economy. But there are other areas of cooperation that could be blocked as well. One area which will not be particularly well known is the Lugano Convention. Now this deals with court jurisdictions. Naturally, being in the driver's seat of global Britain and all that, Boris Johnson would want to ensure that British courts play their role in international disputes. Obviously, when business is done across international lines, there will sometimes be a bit of a legal disagreement, on occasion, of course. So who has jurisdiction if a party perceives itself to have a grievance? So last year, Boris Johnson, when he was making it clear that he wanted to pull out of every single EU organisation going, was still applying to join Lugano. The convention covers not just EU countries, but Iceland, Norway and Switzerland as well. And a decision has still not been made because the UK has still not satisfactorily answered all the questions put to it. But here's the thing, it's not the EU holding out on that one. They actually approved our application, but that approval, I suppose, could be withdrawn. Now consider that Johnson actively pulled out of lots of grey EU schemes, such as Erasmus, the European Arrest Warrant and so on, but he wanted us to be part of this. That tells you how important it is. Without it, if there's an international dispute between companies, English courts, for example, will not have jurisdiction over a foreign business that may be in the wrong. So the situation could be British company takes another company to court. There's a decision in, say, an English court, but it won't be recognised across the rest of Europe. So it won't be binding on any companies that are based in another country. That would represent a major disadvantage for British businesses trying to operate in Europe. This is an issue with a low public profile, but of high importance to the government that the EU could hold against Johnson. And if the profile were ever raised in the media, it would be deeply embarrassing, because part of Brexit was supposed to be about castrating the European courts and empowering the British courts. This, of course, would do the opposite. When legal action was first being talked about a couple of weeks ago, the EU Commission implied the possibility of tariffs. Now, I say it's an implication because nothing definite has been discussed yet, but they mentioned using the legal mechanisms within both the withdrawal agreement and the trade and cooperation agreement. Now, the withdrawal agreement's legal mechanisms take a year or two and essentially involves arbitration. They probably know that this is not ultimately going to prove useful, although they have to follow that path, because whatever it is that Johnson is planning is probably not planned for 2 years. But the mechanisms within the trade and cooperation agreement can be applied rather more quickly. You know, they have to tell the UK what they're doing and give fair warning, and it has to be proportionate and all the rest of it, but they don't need to go through a lengthy process of arbitration to do it, and they certainly don't need agreement. So we may find headlines at some point of British exporters suddenly being told of more paperwork and that tariffs are to be applied at the other side of the Brexit border, cutting down their orders still further from the EU. In other words, a trade war would be begun, something that some Conservative MPs are relishing. But I'm not sure that the EU will take positive action just yet. Apart from anything else, nothing has been publicly discussed in terms of what they will do. Absolutely, I can see them withdrawing approval for various things. That's not positive action, that's more just passive action. You know, like the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, the Lugano Convention, but they don't need to act too quickly in taking positive steps. You know, the bottom line is that the UK government is in clear breach over its international commitments. Now, this time round, the UK government are denying that they are breaking the law. But they're not doing anything fundamentally different to what was threatened before last year when they admitted in Parliament that it was a breach of international law. Not that their denials mean anything anyway, because if nobody who matters believes it. In addition, this action is falling on the wrong side of the battle lines that the United States Senate is eyeing up. The EU are a formidable power in their own right, of course, but they also have the US on their side in this. The Conservatives seem bafflingly comfortable in pissing off the EU. But the US is another story. Even though they're doing that, they keep trying to say that actually, you know, they're on side with the US. You know, I've talked recently about the desperate attempts Johnson has engaged in to try and get the US on his side of this Brexit battle, obviously to no avail. The meeting of the G7 in the UK this summer has to produce some sort of movement on this matter, if it hasn't happened before then. Of course, the EU need to carry on discussing options so as to be seen to be proactive by their own members and citizens who will expect them to take action. But they don't have to rush. They can build international pressure on Johnson, who will find himself in a much worse position come this summer. He still needs the US trade deal. His ministers keep talking about it progressing nicely, despite the fact we know it's completely off for now. The president has said so. I don't know what President Biden is going to say today in his discussion with the Irish Prime Minister, but he may keep his language diplomatic for now, deliberately vague. He may not. That will be interesting. But he will certainly make his position increasingly clearer the longer Johnson tries to continue down this path. All the EU may have to do is to make him sweat with no decisions on equivalence, Lugano, ratification of the Brexit deal, and so on. And if the situation hasn't improved after the G7, which I'd be amazed if that were the case, well, then they can always step up the action if needs be then. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.